The Talking Cheeseheads on cheeseheadtalk.com.
The Bucks hire a new coach, and it's Larry Drew from the Atlanta Hawks on Friday. They released the news on Friday, which I thought was kind of interesting. Usually Friday is kind of a news dump day among, news outlets. But Bucks, make the announcement or at least confirm the rumor that they hire Larry Drew. He's going to talk today and be introduced formally. And here's my general reaction, when I heard the news. If you didn't catch that was a shoulder shrug, half scowl. Okay? Not because of Larry Drew. Not because of Larry Drew at all. I think, by all accounts, it's a solid hire. I think I might have been a little more intrigued by Kelvin Sampson, but that's probably only because I'm more familiar with Kelvin Sampson. Both because he coached in the Big Ten and he was an assistant for the Bucks, and people talk about his relationship with Brandon Jennings. Okay? But it's fine. You look at the stats behind this thing, and the Bucks did their job, and I'm sure they're feeling like they're making the best choice given the situation. I don't have any doubt about that. I have no qualms about this. He was 128 and 102 with Atlanta in his time. He played in the NBA for 10 years. He's known for being able to relate to his players. He's a good overall choice. They had Danny Ferry come in Atlanta last year, and he wanted to bring his own people in, so he hired the assistant from San Antonio last week. That's all well and good. I don't think it's a bad circumstance which brings Larry Drew to Milwaukee at all, and I don't think many people would argue that. Again, the hire is fine. The thing with the Bucks is what's the next step? The coaching piece was always only one piece of the puzzle here. You weren't going to make a big splash. Again, people have said a lot over the last few weeks. Even if you bring in Phil Jackson, what does it matter? Because look at the pieces you have. And that's the next big question. What do you do with Brandon Jennings? Clearly, the one other reaction I had when it was not Kelvin Sampson is, okay, well, what does that mean for Brandon Jennings? Do the Bucks say, we don't think you're a long-term solution? I wouldn't mind that because I don't think he's a long-term solution either. But then what about Monte Ellis? Do you just get rid of your backcourt completely? Do you keep one? Do you keep both? What do you do? I think that'll be really interesting to see. This is a step-by-step piece for the Bucks. The thing that really I found interesting on Friday was that I watched the local news, okay? And I'm in Madison, right? So I watched the local news and two sports reports on two of the main stations. One station didn't even mention it. One of your major pro teams in Wisconsin hires a new coach, and it's not even in the report. High school track and field, the Brewers game, other miscellaneous high school things were in the sports report. I have a problem with that sports report in the first place. You have to mention it. You have to do a, come on, right? The other one has a story like right next to the last story in sports. And what that tells me is pretty clear, and that is that the Bucks are at a level of complete irrelevancy right now. Just totally irrelevant, in the state of Wisconsin. To not even have it mentioned is quite something. And so, to me, this is just step one. He might be a very good hire, but he's not going to last long and not going to be relevant at all if the Bucks don't take several other steps. The next being, how are you going to formulate your team now? What are you going to do in the draft? What are you going to do with your backcourt? What's your strategy going forward? And are you going to stick to a strategy going forward? Because they certainly have not done that. So that's a big deal. And then up the chain you go. Ownership, arena, all that stuff with the Bucks. The good news is, they can do something that's going to get fans excited. The Bucks were a hot ticket when, Big Dog, Ray Allen, Sam Cassell were probing the court in the early 2000s and they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. You don't need mega superstars. You don't need LeBron to come to Milwaukee, okay? It's not only not realistic, it's never going to happen. I mean, obviously, right? So, but you need to be competitive. And the Pacers are doing it. The Pacers have young stars. The Grizzlies did it. It can be done where you can put a very competitive team on that can make a deep run. And that's all Milwaukee wants, to be interested. I mean, the Bucks are never going to be on the level of Brewers or the Packers, no matter what. I mean, nobody's going to be on the level of the Packers, right? But they can get some interest. They can get people into it. There's no question about that. And it's not by getting a superstar. It's by winning and being a 4-and-up seed in the Eastern Conference, not trickling into the playoffs as a losing record 8 seed. And they need to get some of that perspective. Clearly, it's what everybody's trying to do. But it can be done, if you get everybody on the same page and get it working the right way. And that's the big question that remains to be seen, and he's just going to have to prove it. Again, a fine hire, but you're just going to have to prove it to the fans, and that's probably going to take a few years.
The Talking Cheeseheads on cheeseheadtalk.com.